Hello, Imperfect Parenting podcast here. We are rounding out the end of our kind of series that we've been talking about, just kind of spiritual gifts and all the components with it, and been having fun. And we have a meme though that Ben said he wants to do. Because he's got a story.
I was just going to say, the way you did the intro just then,
I
it sounded like you just kind of popped out from the corner like, hello, here we are.
I kind of get bored because I sound the same every single time I introduce the show. So I've tried something new.
G'day. Let's try that one next time.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
You can do that.
I'm sorry, Ozzy, so I tried to invite her
I don't even know that you sounded very Aussie just then.
Oh, that's hurtful.
Do you think?
Hey,
No.
we're not having this conversation right now. Okay. We have memes to read. Okay. You expect it, hopefully, at this point. But here's the meme. I was going to ask you to make sure it's the right actress. Julia Roberts.
Yes.
Don't do that. Those are not watching. She just looked at me like I was wrong. That was mean. This is Julia Roberts with kind of a crazy looking at, like, she's got the crazy eyes going on. And the words say, when your kids keep telling a story and it won't end. Mm-hmm. So when I read this.
And then
this happened, and then this happened. When I read this, I thought of a moment years ago when Delaney was probably 7 years old. I was driving home with her and Danny.
I think we lived down here.
Back to your parents' house. No, we were still in Reading.
Oh, we are?
I can remember it because we were in the Cadillac. Uh-huh. And she's in the back. Your dad and I are in the front. And it's probably a 20-minute drive.
From where?
At the most.
Where are you going?
From the church to your parents' house on the west side.
Of Reading?
Okay. It was a long drive for Reading.
It's the furthest drive you can make.
We're going to see if we can fight today on this podcast, guys. So
That was a big laugh. I'm more laughing that you think it's 20 minutes. I don't know that I feel like it was that long. It's because
Are you correcting me?
I'm just saying,
public?
Reading literally takes 7 minutes to get anywhere.
Okay, so it was like 9 minutes. It feels like 20 when your child talks the entire time. I think Danny and I may have said, uh-huh. That was it. And she just talked the whole time. So, all right. It was a 45-minute drive, okay?
It was 4. Delaney's always been the chatterbox,
Yeah.
which is what we've learned since she's moved out, is how much more the other two talk.
Totally. Oh, there you are.
We were talking about this the other day, watching what Delaney was home for Christmas, and so it was a little taste of what it used to be like. And then she left, and it was just funny watching Adeline kind of step into that void. And even Lincoln, they both are louder than they've ever been, and so it's just kind of funny. But yeah, this is I think about this moment when your kid comes home from school to tell you a story of something that happened, and there's all these kids' names that you don't know who they are, and there's Kyle and Kylie and Kayla and Carissa, and you're like, oh, do they all have to sound like that? Why are you only friends with these people that sound like that? Because then
you bent towards the K sounding,
and you can't figure out who they're talking about anymore because again, you don't really know them very well. And then it just keeps going. Yeah. So if you got a kid like Delaney was, and then you've got a bunch of these same sounding names in there, then you're lost. Or they're all named after cities: Dallas, Charlotte, Salem, San Fran. I don't know. You're like doing a tour in your head as you think of all these places that are really people.
What's your son's name? This is San Francisco.
I was trying to figure it out. San Francisco's a bad one.
This is my son, Reading. Oh, okay.
Pittsburgh.
Why are we here?
We're here
to disagree with me.
Comparison.
Perfect. Here we go.
We talk about
Great
comparison. We were going through and just thinking how when you've got spiritual gifts and maybe they manifest differently in your home, you've got, let's say, Delaney's always been our feeler, and she's always been, it's very obvious when something's going on. It's very, Delaney's big feels come out when she encounters something of the spirit that's especially in the negative. where Adeline and Lincoln's aren't quite so loud. So that would tend to dominate when those moments would happen. And I was even thinking about when I was growing up, like Taylor, he just carries favor on his life in a lot of ways. Like that kid got himself favor in the door in so many moments that it felt unfair sometimes. Like, how did you get in with that? How did you do that? How did you okay. And so there's just these moments where favor shines or your gifts show up. And as a parent, how do you navigate that if one kid's season maybe is louder than the other kids at the moment, or, their gifts and talents? Like, let's say that God's gifted your kid to be able to sing or play an instrument, and the other ones, let's say are tone deaf, and you're like, okay, this is very different. How do you deal with the comparison of the gifts and talents that God put on your kids' lives and it being so different without it turning into a negative experience and kids are angry or jealousy? I think really that jealousy arises. So that's kind of what we're leaning into.
Yeah, and I think this conversation probably should even start with parents. Like, do you even see this in your own life? You go to different environments, different places, and you watch someone gain favor. What happens to your heart? Mm-hmm. What's happening to you, and how are you seeing yourself now? Is there adjustment because they got favor that maybe you wanted, or they got permission for something that you're hoping for? What's happening to you in these moments, in these areas? Because that could be a great place to start for you, just to gain some traction in, that's been happening in my heart. I can feel jealousy wanting to sneak in. That doesn't get place anymore. That loses foothold from this day forward. And I get to celebrate people.
Yeah.
And celebrate the difference, which I think is, in marriage we talk all the time about, if we don't learn to celebrate and value the difference, it's going to feel threatening. Mm-hmm. And when someone's different than us, we're like, I probably should be more like them, and then I would get more favor, then I would get more opportunity, then I would, whatever it is. And I'm a horrible Brittney. I don't look as pretty.
There's so many other things that are, it's just, it makes them, you'll never be me because you weren't created to be me.
I'm a great Ben.
Yeah.
So just that might be a starting point. So I can come to my kids and say, hey, here's even my journey. Here's what I've learned. But what do you think is happening when your jealousy begins to seep in when favor's happening over there, especially with your sibling? Because that creates messes in the home that is not very helpful.
And even this tendency to try and parent everybody the same, try and make the same rule for everyone across the board. This is why we talk a bit more like a culture that we're going for. We don't expect our kids to have straight A's, but we expect the cultures that you give your best effort. So I'm not looking to, Delaney to match Adeline or Adeline to match Lincoln, because that would be unfair and that brings comparison. So what I'm looking for is the culture that I'm chasing after, which is you give your best effort. You give 100%. What does that look like from you? And so this is the same thing in their gifts that they have. What is it that God's given you? Yep. How do you chase after that? What do I expect that from you that I've seen in you? How do I pull that out? Instead of you trying to mirror your sister, because especially if your sister's got favor on her right now, you're like, that's what I want. No, that's not for you.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to get through, but it does impact that sibling rivalry thing that starts to happen. And that when jealousy sits in with our kids, we have to disrupt it and be like, no. We're not doing that game. So what are you great at? I want you to be the best at that. Yeah. I want you to show up there. I don't need you. So, this is, all of our kids have had different outlets of what they're great at. And we worked really hard to emphasize that. Not everybody has to play the piano.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everybody has to play basketball. I think if that's everyone's desire and they want to do that, that's great. And then you're going to have really clear lines within that. You're a really great goalie. You're a really great I don't know, forward. I don't know soccer at all. You're a really good kicker. I don't know what role they have, but I think if you don't do a good job of clarifying that we're not doing comparison, that we're setting up different expectations, and this gets really hard.
Yeah, because it's really even dialing into what we've been talking about, which is you have a different gift mix. God's designed you differently for a purpose, and there's a reason for that. There's things He's going to flow through your life starting today, and it's already been happening, young one. Like God's using you in different ways that He will never use your sibling.
Totally.
And so trying to become something so you get what you think you want because they're getting it just sets you up for failure. And so I'm looking to do a really good job with what's in front of me right now. And these are the lessons when I teach our kids so I can fully celebrate my sibling. It might be hard. It's like, oh, that's disappointing. There's emotions to process, but I'm not crossing a line into I'm choosing distance and I'm getting jealous now. So I'm actually removing myself from this relationship that gets painful.
Yeah, I remember one of the things that happened with even Delaney and Adeline when Delaney got her phone versus when Adeline got her phone is kind of even parenting a little bit out of a fear and unsure. And so this lack of security was kind of driving our approach to the phone is bad because Delaney didn't handle it very well at the age we gave it to her. And Adeline's desperate cry for a phone, her pleading of case and all the things. And we just kept saying, no. And I think there's wisdom in that. I think we did learn some really great things. But Adeline posed a really great question to me, which I didn't even realize I was doing, is one day we were driving together and she says, can I not have a phone because you think I'm Delaney? I was like, I don't think so. I don't think that's what I'm doing, but maybe it's what I can't honestly say no or yes. And I love that we have this relationship with our kids. She wasn't disrespectful. She wasn't even angry. I mean, you could tell that there's disappointment and sadness because her birthday was coming up. But at the same time, it was real curiosity and needing really real clarity. And I realized that moment, I might have some fear and comparison just because I don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with me comparing the two of you, because that is not fair. That as your parent, I'm putting the two of you in the same boat.
That's a great point.
So I was really confronted by that conversation that we had that day with I'm trying to make things fair, or I'm trying to make things safe for me. And so I'm comparing apples and oranges in this moment. And I just remember talking through it with her and kind of saying, I think there's some things that I'm scared that I don't have answers to. And I know that you're a different kid and I don't have the same concerns that I had with Delaney. I don't have those ones with you. So I had to speak to who she was, what I saw in her, rather than what I'm so afraid of or was afraid of with Delaney, which was a really good moment. And it actually helped give her clarity. And we were able to process a little bit more of what we were needing and looking for moving forward with the phone. But I think the hard truth was I was confronted by my own child of, you're comparing me to my sister.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good.
And I think one of the lessons for us even here was the boundaries we set, the favor we share and give, the opportunities that we put forward is relational.
Mm-hmm.
It's a relational game that we're walking with you and next to you. It's not this, all right, there you go. It's all fair now. We did it the same as last time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not how it works, because I don't think that's how God works.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't do it like this.
No.
God's not up there going, okay, favor's fair. That's not. I mean, look at Joseph.
Right.
Joseph is this great example of, he has this gift. He can see through dreams, and the Lord's shown him things. He tells his brothers, and they're like, nope, you're out of here, dude. You're out. And then, you finish the story, and you're like, oh my gosh. They watched those dreams and visions come true. And they came and humbled themselves and asked forgiveness and this whole thing that takes place. But just favor isn't fair. And I think that's an important thing to pay attention to. It says in the Bible that God gives different measure of favor to everyone, which means we all have a level of favor. I'm just not looking to compare myself. I'm looking to do a good job with what I have.
Hey parents, let's be real. As every parent from the beginning of time has discovered, kids don't come with a manual. Parenting is a learning journey from the beginning to end. And like all learning journeys, it's full of lessons, challenges, questions, mistakes, and messes. One of the biggest reasons so many of us get scared, discouraged, frustrated, and overwhelmed as a parent is we think the goal of parenting is to become perfect parents who raise perfect children, which leads us to adopt the fear-driven strategies that focus on avoiding mistakes and messes, and we use control and punishment to change behavior. I wrote a book called Imperfect Parenting, where I explain the true goal of parenting, a safe, loving, heart-to-heart connection with our kids. Pursuing the goal of connection is what sets us up to influence the hearts, minds, and behavior of our children as we guide them on their own learning journey to becoming healthy, confident, and emotionally intelligent. This book will give you the tools you need to lay down the goal of perfection and become fully engaged in your journey of building a healthy, connected family culture where your children can thrive. You can find Imperfect Parenting by going to www.lovingonpurpose.com and clicking store. That's www.lovingonpurpose.com and click store.
You had a story recently through one of your coaching sessions, which was just great about this, I think, just very practical. There's a mom, 5 kids?
Yeah, mom 5, I think they're all like 6 or 7 and under, so
little.
Busy and little. And I think the last 3 were like 4, 2, or 1 type of thing. So, toddler land. And, her and I are talking and she's worked really hard to create things that make the end of the day feel successful. So the house feels clean and different order and structure and just for sanity, which I get, and, but she's meeting with me because she's realized I'm missing connection really. And I've sacrificed connection for my need of order and structure. And that's great, but it actually is coming at a really big cost and I'm losing influence and I don't want to do that. So really beautiful moment in that mom's like, okay, I need this, but I need that more. So just switching priority. And we started talking through her kids and their love languages. And she said the one that she's having kind of the most tiff with, I said, what do you think this kid's love language is? And she said, well, they said that they love when I tickle them. So probably physical touch. And my first thought was, I don't think that's physical touch as much as I think it's quality time. Mm-hmm. Doing something that's fun for me that we do together and we're both enjoying. And because she then explained how pursuing physically her daughter to hug her and cuddle her, she didn't love it. I'm like, yeah, I'm guessing this is in a different category. So we kind of broke down some really practical, what if, you took those 2 older ones, because I said, do you go grocery shopping every 2 weeks, once a week? She goes, probably once a week. I said, okay, what if you took one of those, older 2, grocery shopping with you, and you made it a mom and kid special time? You go to McDonald's or you get a bag of bread and feed the ducks, something you could all do, all these things for $2 or less. Mm-hmm. And you just intentionally develop connection with your kids. She goes, well, the 4-year-old's going to say that's not fair. I said, you're right. It's not fair. I said, because it's not fair. She goes, it's okay that it's not fair. I said, yeah, it's not fair. I said, the baby consumes all time. Yeah. How's that fair?
That's not fair.
That's not fair. I said, and the 2-year-old gets the next amount of time, then probably the 4-year-old. I said, I bet you those younger 3 get way more time and cuddles and books and kisses and all the stories because of their age and the demand that they put at bedtime than the older two. She stopped and she started thinking, she goes, they definitely do. I said, so where's fair? She's like, there's not. I said, no, it's not fair. And so stop trying to make fair the goal and make connection the goal. And look at your timeline, look at your capacity, look at your layout of your day. And if you still need to find fair, then you'll see that the younger kids get that same one-on-one time with you here. They don't get to go to the grocery store because they're not old enough. I'm sorry, Charlie. You don't get to. It's like, it's not fair that you're 1 inch too short to ride the roller coaster, but it's the truth. That's where we're at next time. So it's not seeking fairness as it is adjusting and not comparing. The priority is, I meet this and I meet that and they got to be the same. No. Let's set ourselves up for success. So she's going to start taking the older ones out to the grocery store. And, we came up with some other really great solutions for bedtime because they are older, so they've been staying up a little bit longer. And she's like, but they're not really getting themselves ready, though they could. So then I have Phil all this other work. I was like, well, you know what? Say, hey, you got 30 minutes to do jammy teeth, lunches, whatever it is they got to do. And as soon as you're done, come find me and stop the timer. And whatever time's left, you get to stay up that much later after bedtime. And she's like, that's a brilliant idea. I said, right? I said, smarter, not harder, honey. That's what we're going for. But we're just changing the game instead of trying to make everything fair and think that that's what we're seeking after. But we're looking for deep connection. We're looking to see each kid that we have, what's God got for them? What can I add to their life right now? Especially these young stages right here. Be strategic in how you look at this. Get creative. And don't put yourself in a box of I have to check off that I spent 10 minutes a day with each kid. I don't actually think that you're going to probably give very much quality to that kid if you're trying to fit all of it in there intentionally, because it's just going to feel like a routine robotic gesture rather than I'm here, I'm present, this is our time. And I said, eventually, the 4-year-old will turn 5 and you'll have to figure out where do I graft you in with that. And maybe it's when this kid goes to gymnastics, you go with me and we get one-on-one time. I mean, again, we just got to be creative. But I just loved helping free her from trying to make everything fair. Yep. And even comparing. The hard part, I think, for moms is we do have this comparison with other moms, with, other things that we see. We just start to compare. And in comparison, I think comparison in itself can be a tool that uses you to move forward, that can challenge you. But if it becomes true comparison, then I'm now judging myself against this other person. And it's usually a poor reflection. I've got a warped mirror that I'm looking at because I'm never going to be able to do that because that's not the same season as someone else.
Someone's losing when comparison's taking place.
Yeah. I mean, it's like telling that mom, like, okay, you got to do it like me, who has, teenagers in the house. She's going to lose. Yeah. She's totally going to lose. No, you got to play this game how it works for you in your season. Do not compare it to my season. And that, I mean, whatever season you're in, find an appropriate mirror to find some, all right, I bet I could do that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that. I'm going to leave that. And I'm going to pick up this. Now let's go make some changes.
Yeah, I think one of the things we've been talking about leading up to this too is just the difference in our girls.
Mm-hmm.
So we have these 2 girls growing up in our home. One's now gone. We mention that all the time, Delaney. But
it's just the reality we live in, guys.
What's happening here? We're
learning how to become a family of 4.
But it's this awareness that we've grown in watching our girls is discovering that Delaney really sees the world through compassion.
Absolutely.
She approaches every situation, every relationship, every encounter with how heavy is my comparison today? My compassion. Sorry, I keep mixing those words up. And then with Adeline, it's really this desire to influence, which is from the Lord. It's beautiful. But watching our girls, they would begin to compare each other to each other. Mm-hmm. And to compare influence and compassion doesn't work.
No.
two very different gift mixes. It's two very different
like,
approaches.
do you want to eat peas or do you want an apple?
Yeah. Or steak. Peas or a steak.
It's just, it's such a different, complex approach to life and how you would show up in something and how you would engage with it. And I mean, the hard part that I watched happen was they started to kind of see the other one's gifting as not as good or ill intent or weak or something like that. And I'm like, whoa. Hold your horses. Yeah. And because I said, people are going to need Delaney in a way that you don't understand. And people are going to need Adeline in a way that you do not understand. So to minimize the gift and emphasis that God's put on their life because you don't understand it or necessarily function this way is totally how we create jealousy or we belittle one another's God-given talent, emphasis, and structure of how they function. I mean, how they show up to a party, night and day different. Hilarious. It's like you and I showing up to a party. It's very different.
Very different. Yeah.
And it's not bad or good. It's not wrong or right. It is the difference that God put in our kids. Can we identify it? Can we help highlight it? Can we help teach value and appreciation? And maybe pulling on each other for those spaces, which I think I have seen.
Yep.
As they've grown and us not be okay with you can have jealousy amongst your sibling and we'll let that live in our home. That doesn't get to live in our home. We're really big about their relationships together and protecting connection. And so they've been able to pull on each other's strengths and fill in the gaps where they could use it. Mm-hmm. And it's been beautiful, absolutely powerful.
Yeah. So encouraging and learning, so much learning for us as parents. Mm-hmm. As you're sharing that, I'm thinking about Jesus a couple of times encounters with the disciples. Mm-hmm. Where they come to him and they say, all right, Jesus, we've been doing this for a while now. Mm-hmm. You should have an answer. Mm-hmm. You ready? Who's the greatest? And he looks at him and, they're just waiting to find out, like, see, Peter, I told you, I'm the greatest. I knew it was John, But he looks at him and says, the greatest is the one who serves. Mm-hmm. And I think this is even the antidote at some level to if this thing's happening or you're having a hard time or favor's unfair and you're watching your sibling have favor, is go figure out a way to serve. Figure out a way to show up and be a strength to that person rather than taking from that person. And this is the key that Jesus gave us. One of my first messages was on this verse right here. And it was the pathway to greatness is servanthood. Mm-hmm. And I think I still believe it today.
That's good.
It's just the practice of the way out of this turmoil I'm in. Because, I would love to see this video one day in heaven, the disciples. But I would imagine there was some jealousy going on there.
Sure.
There was some stuff happening like, well, he got to do that thing, and he got time with Jesus like that, and that's not fair. Jesus is like, fair. That wasn't the goal.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's not fair. You're right.
So, it's an old age thing we're dealing with here. We're all practicing, but there's a different gift on each person in your home. And I think learning to steward it and celebrate it in different seasons is such an important practice.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully parents feel encouraged and really confronted with, do I have comparison going on with my kids through my own lens?
Yep. Can
you fix that? Change the expectation for each kid. Create a culture that you're shooting for, not everyone has to hit the same target. I think that's going to help a lot just to free you up and really debunk the reality that everything has to be fair. It's Christmas time, everyone has the same budget, but Lincoln's things either cost way more or way less. And so it adjusts in what you get underneath the tree. I'm sorry. You spent all your money on one item. Well, there it is. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry you didn't get 12 gifts or whatever you got too. I change the game, help yourself be successful so that we can help our kids be successful and stewarding their differences and then having value for those differences, whether they're spiritual gifts or just different emphasis and things that show up. So I'm looking forward to you just having breakthrough in your home when it comes to that. So awesome. Thanks so much for joining us on Imperfect Parenting. I will see you later.